We are back for another retro game hunt, and this time I'm bringing you a special edition as nobody was actually allowed in Game Shack. So massive shout out to the staff at Game Shack for letting me in to film this very special retro game hunt. The shop, as you may notice, is familiar because I've been here before and I've done some awesome retro game hunts, but there's a lot of differences and we'll talk about that as we get into it, so please enjoy. As an additional side note, guys, I will link Game Shack's Facebook in the description if you want to go and show them some love. Please message them if you want them to ship anything out to you. They'll more than accommodate your retro gaming needs. So let's just talk about the layout of this particular store for a minute. The PS3 games were smack bang in the middle of the shop. The whole thing had been completely transformed to accommodate the fact that nobody's going to be coming in here. You can actually get inside the door, there's this little desk, and then you can literally ask for a particular game that you want, and they'll check for you and kind of bring it back to the counter, and that's where the transaction happens. And I think that's a very smart move under the kind of current circumstances with this virus still being very, very prevalent. I, for one, took all the precautions with hand sanitizer, as I always do, and I just absolutely adore this shop because there's so much cool stuff in. Like here we have big boxed PC games, which I kind of feel like, wow, you know, you don't see them around. You do not see them around. And I did pick up some lovely stuff that you don't see around that often. So be warned, because there is a monumental retro game pickups that will drop on Friday. So make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss it. It's the random little things like this. This is a Breath of the Wild light box, which is a new piece of stock as I've not seen it in here before, but I have seen little things like that knocking around. You know, like gaming conventions, you tend to see a lot of those things there. You don't see a lot of them in these retro gaming shops. Now, in this particular hunt, one of my favourite portions of the store was this PS1 wall. There seemed to me like more stock had come in, and I found, as I've done retro game hunts post-lockdown, I am pleasantly surprised at the amount of additional stock that's come into these places, and this particular store is local to me. That's why I'm kind of choosing to support it. I love going up here. I love buying. I always buy PS1 games, always guaranteed buy PS1 games. In fact, in the second to last trip, I managed to score a copy of the Blockbuster video rental version of Rage Racer on the PS1, and I literally bought it purely for the case because that is nostalgia times a million right there. They do lack on the cartridge side, particularly your box stuff. That was it in terms of Super Nintendo and N64. Decent range in terms of your Master System though, and your Sega Mega Drive. And as you guys can see in the background there, we've got Rings of Power. In the background, we've got the Super Nintendo stuff with a couple of NTSC, which again is a very nice touch. Love seeing NTSC stuff, or rather North American region cartridges when I'm out on these retro game hunts. So I'm still kind of scanning here with the Sega Mega Drive stuff, and it was this particular shelf here that I clocked on their Facebook group, because what they did, what Game Shack did, was they put out pictures of their stock on their Facebook group, and I did clock some Sega Mega Drive games that I wanted. So that little marketing ploy clearly works, because I actually went up here and spent a bunch of cash and got some surprise impulsive stuff as well, but there was a title in particular that I specifically went for, and luckily enough it was still in and I did manage to bag it. But you're gonna have to wait and see what I got on Friday for the retro gaming pickups. Now, what's cool about this as well, kind of side note here, this was pretty much an alphabetical order. So, you know, if you want a copy of Porsche Challenge, it's right there in the P's, etc, etc. So, I loved that. I absolutely loved that. And you'll notice when we get to the original Xbox wall, it's the same. It is exactly the same. Now, for me, this Game Shack really does shine in its oddities and it's kind of rarities, because this Hina, which is the town that Game Shack is in, it's an old market town, and this particular shop's been here for a number of years now, and to me it's got that vibe of, you know, people in the 2000s just kind of clearing out their attics when retro gaming wasn't really popular, you know, kind of early 2000s, and just taking all of their collections to a shop like this. Taking it in, getting about 10 quid for it when it wasn't worth anything, and then it's just kind of stuck in here. And with it being stuck in here, it's just grown in value and value and value, because as we know now, retro gaming is a massive commodity. There's a huge amount of money in it, and I for one love browsing and shopping. But that's the vibe I get. I could be wrong. Game Shack, if I am wrong, please tell me in the comment section, but that's the vibe I get, and I freaking love it. It feels authentic, it feels gritty, and it's mint. Now this little section right here is typically where the counter is. So this is where your till is, as we call it, a till in the UK. This is what, you know, if there was no pandemic, you'd kind of go in and, you know, there's kind of this area there. There was some stuff kind of stored behind. There were some game guides, which used to be typically out on the floor. I was expecting to see the game guides out on the floor. I was a little bit gutted that they kind of weren't out, but I know if I ask, I'd be allowed to kind of see them. And then just at the side of the till, we've got there's a whole stack of consoles that you'll see there unboxed, and then this complete wash of PlayStation 2 titles. It literally is floor to ceiling in here, and it would have been impossible to go through every single one, right? It literally would have been impossible. A clock in Silent Hill 2 there, wicked game, wicked release of it. It would have been impossible. But I'm showing it anyway because I know you guys do go into these stores when I've been in, and you do have a good route around yourselves. Now we've got this little kind of shelving unit up front here. Unboxed N64. Really love the comic book stuff. We're going to take a look at this shelf in more depth, as well as the Xbox One games and PS4. Let's get down and dirty with the original Xbox. This is the first thing you see when you walk in, and I think this in terms of the looks of this particular store, this is the sexiest part of the store by far, because I think, for one, Xbox original spines, they have so much colour and so much personality compared to PAL PS2, which, as you saw, were just white with black text, you know, really boring, not very distinguishable. Whereas kind of here, you know, if you want to copy a Shenmue, you know what, Shenmue 2 rather, you know what that spine looks like. If you want a copy of, say, GTA, as you can see it up there, you know what your GTA 3 looks like. Gun, you can, you know, things stick out a mile. So this looks absolutely delicious, and that's bittersweet right there. That leaflet right there, the Retro Gaming Fair, that was one of the cancelled markets from April of this year. Obviously, a lot's kind of happened to the world, a lot of kind of crap's kicked off, but fingers crossed retro gaming markets will pick up with some kind of tempo over the next maybe 6 to 12 months. I'm not quite sure how it's going to go down, but cool enough, Game Shack were going to go to it. So I was like, get in, buzz in. I would have seen you guys there. And if you do see them at retro gaming markets, please give them some business. Please just take some time to look at this awesome variety of stock. As I said in Monday's Retro Game Hunts, I do these out of my own pocket. I am not paid. I am not sponsored in any way. I kind of watch these videos back during an edit, and I look at the footage, and I'm literally freestyling what I'm saying. And I'm feeling that emotion that I felt when I went in. And for me, it's wicked because I'm like, no, I missed that title. I missed it. So I was like, I need to go back. I mean, I'm not mentioning any specific titles because I don't want anyone to get them before me, but it's a great little kind of catalogue for me to just say, oh, this was cool. I'm going to take a drive out and see if they've still got it. But yeah, we kind of swinging back round, you get a good glance for the size of the shop. Like I said, if you are familiar with my channel, you've been on one of these retro game hunts with me in Game Shack before. Now, I want to take a minute to talk about Skylanders, as it's something I'm not into, but it pains me to see the amount of Skylanders in retro game stores and in CEX. They seem like such a waste. I mean, how terribly bad is all that plastic for the environment? Like, stop buying Skylanders, everyone. What do you guys think about Skylanders? Now, here's more cool stuff. We've got some random kind of special editions there. Check these beauties out. What in the world? Hands up in the chat, or rather in the comment section, if you're getting nostalgia goosebumps from them bad boys. I definitely got a lot of nostalgia goosebumps in here, and I think later in the video we actually take a look at some of the board games that were on the shelf just next to those handheld games right there. I don't know what I'm doing with the camera right here. I don't quite know. It's very shaky, but it's not as shaky as we're taking a look at Lara Croft right now. I was going to buy that, but I was like, I don't know, I want a life-size Lara Croft. That would be kind of one of my holy grails, really, to have in the game room, the lady lounge. But this beauty here, hated the game, terrible game, Angel of Darkness, but the board game intrigued me, so I'm going to give a little spoiler here. I did pick up one of those Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness board games. Let me know if it's any good. I am starting to turn my head more towards kind of board games. Resident Evil being one of those that I do want to pick up. You may have caught that on the last episode of the Retro Game Hunting show that I did, which was Monday. It'll be linked in the cards, and it was only 60 quid, so I might even, in fact, I know my mate at Retro Hub can get me one for 50, so I'm going to be contacting you, Eric, if you're watching. Give yourself a shout out in the comment section below for your lush retro game shopping. I will be down very, very soon. So I was considering these, and yes, they're not amiibos, but they look really cool. I have these like little S hooks. They're in like kind of like a transparent S hook that I have on my wall, and I'm able to hang stuff like this in my game room. And I was like, do I? Don't I? Well, you know, and in the end I kind of didn't, and I don't know why I didn't. I don't know what it was that possessed me to kind of walk away from that. I didn't even know how much they were. But I was kind of considering, because I do have a little bit of space in the game room on the wall that unfortunately I can't put shelves up because the plaster is horrifically weak. So, but you know, hanging something like that up is a really nice little touch, I think, to anyone's games room. And if you've got any kind of tips as to what you put on walls, you know, tweet at me, use hashtag Team24. Please give me some tips, because I'm always looking for different ways, you know, lighting, anything like that. I'm always looking for ways to kind of increase the ambiance of the lady lounge. The GameCube games almost escaped my little eyes, but they were right down here on the floor. Decent selection. I think on the whole, GameCube is a console that I feel is neglected. No matter what retro game store I go to, whether it's CEX or a local retro game store like Game Shack, there's never a massive amount of stock. And it's the same at like Doncaster Gaming Market as well. And maybe I just don't see it. I don't know. But that doesn't pain me too much, because I'll only purchase GameCube games that I'm going to play, rather than, like, I'm not a GameCube game collector. You know, I'm a GameCube game player. And I know for a lot of you that won't make sense, but I know for a lot of you that will make sense. So I'm speaking to you in particular. But we are actually getting towards the end of this video. Boo-hoo! But we got loads and loads more retro game hunts coming up. Now, after this slide, we're going to pay homage to the members of this channel. If you want to subscribe, it's free. Please subscribe if you want to join and support different kind of videos like this where I can go and buy stuff and I can travel to these things. Please hit that join link or hit the first link in the description and you'll feature in every video with other perks. But guys, I'm going to conclude it there. I love you. Thank you for watching. Take care. Stay safe. My name is Gemma. See you on Friday.